Hi you guys, I am super excited. We are going to make this today. It's a super cute little watercolor garden. And I will walk you through how to draw it, how to trace it and everything. You don't need very many complicated supplies. The only thing is watercolor, and you can use whatever you have on hand. It can be crayola, it can be whatever you want. And I'm also going to show you, if by chance you don't have any watercolor paint at all available, I'm also going to show you how to do this using just crayola markers, just normal crayola markers, how you can add water to them and make them look really cool. The only thing I don't mention in the video is make sure that you use either watercolor paper, and I know that some of you don't have that, so just as long as it's like a thicker paper, even thick construction paper, just something that's thick. Otherwise, if you use just straight up like computer paper, it will get super wet and will probably rip on you and cause a mess. So if you don't have any thick paper, that's fine too. You can just go ahead and follow along with the tracing and the drawing, and then you can color it however you want, with colored pencils, with crayons, with markers, whatever you have on hand. So I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to send me pictures, post some pictures of your finished watercolor, and I can't wait to see it, and even your pictures if you don't watercolor. So all right, let's get to it.
Okay, we are going to get started with our supplies. First off, just a normal Sharpie. And number 2 is a pencil. You can use any pencil you want. I just really like my mechanical pencil. You'll also need a paintbrush. Anything will really do as long as it has bristles. And also watercolor paints. Now, like I said, if you are using Crayola, I will put a link in the video of when that starts. And you will need some water. It doesn't have to be a spray bottle. I just like to use a spray bottle to activate my paints. You just need this, like here I'm going to show you my little jar of water. You also need paper towels. And you can even use tissue. That's an option. I know some of us are low on that though, so you don't have to use tissues if you don't want to. Alright, I'm going to move my paints over here. Get these out of the way. That off to the side. And I'm going to grab my pencil, and we are going to start by drawing in our stems for our flowers. We're just going to go in and have some fun with that. I'm going to go ahead and just make lines for the stems. You can make them short, long. I like to make them different. So some of them I'm doing curved, some of them I'm doing straight. Some of them might be wavy. You can really make them however you want. I'm going to go back over here and add another one. And then I'm going to go ahead and make the ground, which is going to be down at the bottom. I'm just going to make a nice straight line. And this will connect all the lines down to that ground. And I'm just going to brush away some extra little stuff that got on my paper. And the third step, we're going to add our flowers. Now I'm going to show you some different flowers that you can make. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. The first flower is just a really simple one. We're going to make a circle a little bit away from our stem. And then we're going to go ahead and just make almost like an oval shape that comes to that middle circle. Just going to go around. I'm going to make 5 petals. You can make as many petals as you want. But that's how I'm going to make mine. And then I'm going to come up to this one and make a little tulip. It's just like a bowl or a cup. And then you just make 3 little points on the top. And see how mine aren't perfect or anything. I'm just adding some lines to make it look unique. I might get rid of those later. We'll see. And then I'm going to make this circle flower. I think these are super fun. You literally just do a swirl and you connect it, and it's super fun. And then up here, we're going to do a daisy type flower. We're going to make really long petals and just connect them back to your circle. They don't all have to be the exact same size. Some of them might be longer than others. It's hard to make them all the same. You just do the best you can. You don't have to do this kind of flower. It's just kind of a fun one. And then I'm going to come down here and do that same flower we did to start. We're just going to do the circle in the middle. And we're just going to do the petals coming around, all the way around. Just like that. And for that one, I did 6 petals. This one over here, I really, really love the circle. So we're going to make another circle flower, just literally making a swirly. Just start, make a swirl. And then up here, we're going to make another tulip. So we're going to make that kind of almost like a cup shape or a bowl. And then we're just going to make some points on the top, just like that. I'm not going to add the lines in on that one. I'm just going to leave it as is. And then down here, I'm actually going to do kind of a lavender type flower. So I'm going to add like a little, they're basically like little oval shapes here and there. I try to connect them. You don't have to do this. I just kind of like it. Just kind of make like an oval shape, see, and you connect them there on the stem and make kind of one little oval on the top. And then we're going to go ahead and add some leaves. Now, leaves can be kind of tricky, but really you can make your leaves however you want. I like to start with kind of like, almost like I'm making a circle. So kind of I started that circle and I stopped. And I'm going to come to that point and do almost like another half of a circle. And I'm going to add just a line right there. Kind of looks like a football almost. And you can make these big or small, just like this one. I'm going to make a little bit of a smaller one here. But if you have trouble making this shape, don't worry. If yours look more like that, that's totally fine. Or even you can even make them kind of circly. See how mine's really round? It really doesn't matter. So don't get frustrated on those leaves. I'm going to actually do kind of like some circly leaves for this flower and then a really long pointy one. They don't have to all come to a point on the stem. They can just attach to that stem. This one I'm going to make a big giant leaf. Big and huge. You can make a big giant circle one if you want. Make a big giant one down here. And then for this flower, I'm just going to come in and make some smaller leaves. It's always fun to make different sizes of leaves to make your picture more interesting. Do some big leaves, do some little leaves. And then always remember, you can do however many leaves you want. If you want to do 3 leaves on this one, 2 leaves on a different one. See how I only did 1 leaf on that stem, 3 over here, 2 here, 2 big ones, 3 small ones. Mix it up and have fun with it. Do whatever you want. I'm going to do some more circle leaves because I think it looks cool with this kind of flower. So I'm going to do some more circle leaves. I'm just going to do 2, 3. And then I'm going to come over here to this tulip and add, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to add our little football shaped leaf, but I'm going to do one on each side. I'm actually going to go and do another one over here. That's another fun thing you can do. You can do them on both sides, kind of like we did for the lavender flower. And then I'm going to add some in the middle here. I'm going to do some sets of leaves. And if you run into other flowers, that's okay. You can just go around them, or even if your pencil goes all the way through them, that's totally fine too. See how it looks good either way. And then I'm going to do one more set on the bottom just because I like leaves and I think they're fun. So don't forget you can do however many, few or lots more if you want. I'm not going to do anything to this little lavender one over here. I'm just going to leave that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some little stems here and there. Maybe it's some grass. Just kind of add some other details. Just have fun with it. You don't have to do this step. I just think it adds some fun, interest, and detail to our picture. And now I'm going to go in with my eraser because there's a few things I don't like. That's the fun thing about sketching with pencil first. If you don't like something, just erase it and have fun. Do it something different. So like, I didn't really like that line I did, so I'm just going to erase it. I'm just going to erase it and then go back in with the ones I like and make them good. And now after you're happy with your sketch and what you've done, you're going to outline it with your Sharpie. So go ahead and grab that Sharpie and just trace right over your pencil lines that you've made. And one thing too, if you accidentally don't exactly trace your flower how you did it with Sharpie, that is totally okay. Don't panic. If you see here, I'm going to trace this one, and I'm not totally tracing this tulip. Look, that's totally different than my pencil outline. And that's totally okay. And if you even have a leaf that you're like, nah, I don't really like where that is, you can always move it around with your Sharpie too. And if you mess up with your Sharpie, it's okay. Just keep going with it. We're going to add in our watercolor in just a couple minutes here, and it's going to make it look really cool, so you don't even have to worry. See, my line wasn't even straight there. Totally okay. Here, I'm even making my petals longer. I decided, I want to have longer petals, so I'm just going in, making my petals nice and long. And then I'm going to trace my leaves. going back in with my Sharpie. And you can take as much time doing this as you want. You can do it really quick and fast, or really take your time. It's up to you. I'm just going over that middle flower again, making my leaves and my petals. It's my little tiny ones. And I like to add the lines in the leaves just from the stem. And I don't totally touch the tip of my leaf, and you don't have to add it, but I just like to do that. I think it makes it look more like a leaf. And then just tracing this big one. Now, here's one that I decided I don't super love my leaves that I did in the middle, so I'm going to go ahead and trace these ones. Just go over them with my Sharpie, but then I'm actually going to move the ones that were in the middle. I'm going to come down here and do these first so I can decide where I want to put them. I'm going to put them right here. A little bit lower, and I'm not going to make them as big. I'm just going to kind of do that with them. And then I'm going to trace my little lavender, and remember, it's just like that oval kind of shape, nice and long. And I connect them in the same spot, just like that. Keep going. And then I come down here and I add my ground line. And it's okay if it's not perfectly straight, that's fine. And then I come in here and I add those little stems and little bits of grass. And once you're happy, then you can just go ahead and erase your pencil lines. Now I have this little stick eraser, but you can use whatever you have. You can just use what's on the back of your pencil. Or if you have a big eraser, you can use one of those pink ones. Just get rid of those pencil lines, because see how I changed some of the leaves, so now I need to erase this. And just make sure you get all of the little pieces of the eraser off after you're done erasing. I'm going to just come through, finish up erasing there. Get that leaf. Get this stuff, because remember I didn't trace that exactly. Kind of went off, and so I'm going to erase that. Get this leaf too, and that line. Okay, so now here's the fun part, and I probably should have done this when I started doing my Sharpie, but I didn't. We're going to go ahead and activate our watercolors by spraying them with our spray bottle. Now, if you don't have a spray bottle, that's totally fine. I'm going to show you right here after I finish this how you can do it with just your paintbrush and your water. So you just dip it in the water, and then show you. Take it and then make sure it's got lots of water, and then you just dab it right in there. I didn't even touch my paints. I just dropped it right in. You can see it kind of falling. Hopefully you can see that. And that's another way to activate your paints if you don't have a spray bottle. So now you get to decide what colors you want your flowers. I'm going to make this first one over here kind of like a bright yellow, almost got a tinge of orange to it, just a nice pretty color. And here's the fun part. You do not have to stay inside the lines. You can just go crazy, have fun. Mine is not in the lines at all. And then I just took some water and spread it out, made it kind of fun. Almost looks like a sunbeam, little sun there. And then I felt like this tulip needed to be red, kind of a reddish orange. So I'm going to come in here with that color. Just make sure you take your paints and stick them on something to mix them. Just like I have here, that little stuff on the other side. So if you're using, just crayola paints, you can just stick it on that clear piece that looks like that. And now I don't have the color purple, so I'm going to go ahead and mix it because I really want the next flower to be purple. So I'm going to take my red. This is actually alizarin crimson, but it's just red. It's just a fancy name for a red. And then I'm going to take my ultramarine blue, which is just a blue. You can pick any blue you have and mix it up until you get a purple, because we know that red and blue makes purple. So then I'm going to take that purple that I mixed and I am going to cover my flower with it. Just get it all nice wet on there. And don't forget to rinse your brush out in between. Try not to get all of your paints too muddy. It's okay if you get a little bit of color in a different well with a different color paint, but just try to keep them clean. Try to rinse out your brush before you go into a new color so it doesn't get all yucky, like mixing your blue with your red, and now you've got a purple and no blue and red. Alright, and then I'm going to come in here with this yellow, make this flower yellow. I don't know, I'm just feeling yellow for these kind of flowers today. You can make yours whatever color you want. And then I'm going to spread it around, and I think Yeah, for this little circle flower, I'm going to do kind of a reddish, pinkish color because I just love that. I think it looks really pretty. And for my last tulip up here, I'm going to make it kind of a gold type color, kind of a yellow, not really a bright yellow, but more of a darker yellow. I just think that looks kind of pretty, almost like a gold. And then for my lavender, I'm going to go ahead and use purple because I know there's some lavender that has more of a blue shade to it, and then there's some that have more of a purple. So I'm going to mix up some more purple. See, I'm adding that blue to my red again to get that purple color. This one's kind of more of a bluish purple. And I'm just going to go into those little petals right there. And now we're going to go on to the leaves. Now, I have 2 greens in my watercolor palette, but if you just have one, you can go ahead and use that one that you have, and I'll even show you a few tips on how to mix if you want to get a little bit of a different shade of green. So I'm just mixing up this normal green that I have and painting it right in there on that leaf. I'm going to go ahead and paint a couple leaves with this color. And now I'm going to show you how you can mix a different green if you wanted to. So if you just have one green and it's a dark green, you can add some yellow to it, and that will give you more of kind of a light sappy green. So for some of the flowers, you might want to do a different color. Here, I'll show you right here. I'm just adding. See, I got my paints a little bit messy, and that's okay. So now I'll show you what kind of color that makes when you mix that yellow with your green. See, now I have this really light green. I think it's really pretty. And just going to fill that in, add a little more water. There we go. And I'm going to do quite a few leaves with this color. I really like this color, so I'm just going to pick leaves here and there to do that with. And now if you want, let's say you have a light green and you want to make a dark green, just add blue. Add lots of blue to it, and you'll get like this really fun green. I really like this green. I think it looks kind of antique-y and old-fashioned. See, it looks similar to the one that we started with, but you can kind of see it has a little more of a blue hint to it. I just think that looks really pretty. So I'm going to do a lot of leaves. Well, I'll do these 2, and then I think I am going to use the other green that's just in my paint set, but I'll mix that on my palette. I'll show you that. I'm just mixing up that green. Just like that on my palette. See how it's a much lighter green, kind of like that yellow one that we mixed with the first green. So I'm going to go in, add that in. It's a little bit different. So see, you've kind of got like 4 different greens on here. But like I said, if you only have one green, that's totally fine. Go ahead and just use that one. And then you can go ahead and paint the grass or those stems that we made. And you can even add some more. I literally just take my paintbrush and just whoop, do a line. See, it's not even skinny or fat. It just bloop. Just stick it right on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And that's pretty much it for the stems. Then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the ground. This part you might need a little more water for, so just spread that paint around. I really like to make it green. I think that makes it look really, really pretty. I'm going to keep spreading that green around. Keep going. Add a little more color where I think I need it. I feel like this is a little bit light over here. So I might add some more to that later. But now this, you are going to want to ask your parents. And this is actually a great thing to do outside if you want an activity for outside. Is we're going to do one of my favorite things. Ask your parents before you do this, or do it in a place where you're not going to get everywhere. It's splatter. This is one of my favorite things. You're going to get your paintbrush soaking wet. You're going to put a lot of paint on it, and then you're just going to boop, 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 just tap it and splatter it all over your painting. This is one of my favorite things to do. I do this on tons of my paintings, and it's super fun. And I use lots of different colors. Like I use yellow. I'm going to mix up some red right here and do red now. And the more water you have, the bigger the splashes you'll get. See how some of my splashes are a little bit bigger? So if you add a lot of water to your paintbrush with a little bit of paint, you're going to get bigger splatters. I'm adding some purple. And if it mixes in with your other colors, that's okay, because sometimes if they're still wet, it's going to mix, and that's okay. It's kind of a fun look. And I'm just adding in a little bit more kind of grassy type colors down at the bottom. You don't have to do this. I just kind of wanted to fill it in a little bit more. You can even add a sky if you wanted to. After this was dry, I just decided not to. I really like how that looks. You want to check and make sure that it's dry, so tap it with your finger. But I'm going to go ahead and actually add a little bit more yellow to this flower, just to kind of outline a little more. I feel like it's a little bit dull, so I'm just going to add a little bit more to that, make it really pop. And then this is another fun thing. If you have a spray bottle to just spray your painting, see how it kind of makes everything blend together a little bit? So you can do that if you have a spray bottle. You don't have to do that. That's just another fun thing. Now, if by chance while you're painting, you maybe make a spot too wet, you can use a tissue to pick up that extra water. Just a normal tissue, nothing special about it, and you just dab really carefully. You don't want to scrub your paper because that will end up damaging it and it might rip on you. So you just want to dab it with your paper towel. And sometimes too, you can even see how I got rid of most of that purple color. You can even get rid of a color if you don't like it, or at least lessen it. So there's a few spots I'm going to just use my tissue to get rid of. And then I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and come back to you when it is dry. Okay, so I've let it dry. It's, I know it doesn't look like I've let it dry, but I've let it dry. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some writing on it. You can write however you want. You can use all capital letters. You can use lowercase letters. You can do whatever you want because this is your art piece, so there's no rules. You can also do it with a pencil first. Sometimes I do that so I can erase if I don't like it. And I'm actually going to add some cursive on mine, and I know some of you really like to do cursive, so you can do this or not. It's totally up to you. You can write whatever you want. I wrote my garden. I just thought that was kind of cute. You could write, Happy Mother's Day to your mom. You can even put verses on it. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, it's always important to write your name. So I'm going to sign my name, and I always sign my paintings with Ruthie Elizabeth. And so I'm going to put that there. And then I put the year, and this is kind of a fun thing. You can put 2020, kind of practice for your calendar, so that you know when you painted it. And now you are done. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to take a picture and send it to me because I would love to see what you guys come up with, all your different creative things. I went ahead and put a picture in here of mine when it was all dry and done, but here's another option. So be creative. And we are going to get right to our Crayola tutorial. So, oops, I dropped it, sorry. I am just using a normal Crayola marker. Nothing special about it. Some of these are the washable ones, as you can see with this one. Some of them aren't, but it really doesn't matter. You can use washable or normal. You're just going to put some color in, and then all you're going to do is use water and some type of paintbrush, something, and you're just going to spread that color around with the water. So I'm not adding anything but water to these colors, see, and getting this fun effect. I'm going to add it to this red and see how it spreads out just like watercolor paint. Super fun. I'm going to add some to the leaf. Now you can still see the line where my original strokes were from the markers, but it is so fun. I can just fill it in and it gives it more of a light, fun feel to it. I'm going to go ahead and make this flower real pretty. I had some orange and yellow on it. And do the purple, spread the purples out. And I have some blue around these flowers. The blue worked really, really well for spreading. And I'm also going to spread this brown down here. It literally is just like watercolor paint. You're just spreading it right around. Super fun. You might still have a little bit of the line from when you drew it, but that's totally okay. You can just let that dry. And then I had this really fun idea because of the blue flower. Thought we'll just go in and do some sky. So what you can do, grab your blue and just try to avoid the flowers themselves. Just kind of go around. Then guys, I'm literally just scribbling with this marker. Have fun. Scribble around with it. And then watch. All I'm going to do is take water and put it on. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I just stuck water on it and I'm spreading it around. And you can do this with watercolor too. I just decided not to do sky on my watercolor one since we did the splatter. But if you want to do sky with your watercolor, you can do that. But look at this. This is just a Crayola marker. I just scribbled around here, and I'm just adding water and spreading it around. That's literally all I'm doing. Now, if you're using a type of construction paper or just a thick paper, it might not spread as easily, and that's okay. You might still have a little bit more of your lines, but that's okay. See, I have a little bit more of a line there from where I did that color, but just have fun with it. See what you can do. Add some more water. You can even go down. I decided that I was going to add some more blue to the lower part and go around all the flowers. And if the flowers get in, see how the yellow is kind of bleeding into the blue and the red's kind of getting in there too? That's totally okay. Just let it flow and it's totally fine. Don't panic. I decided we're going to add some more in here because I want to bring that blue down. And look, I just scribbled, guys. I just scribbled. Nothing really fancy at all. Then I took my paintbrush and just spread it around. This will work. And like I said, really, really good with watercolor paper. Just experiment with your construction paper or thick paper. It will still spread. It just might not spread as easy. You might have to add a little bit more of your marker. But that is all I'm using. I am just using acrylic marker and water. That's it. And a paintbrush. And I'm going around the flowers. I don't really want to get it on the flowers, but it's okay if you go over them a little bit. Yeah, so this is just a really fun thing you can do if you don't have paints, and anytime you want to have like a watercolor effect and you don't want to buy more watercolors, you can just use your markers. And they're not as good for mixing like this. You can. They're not as good for mixing, but just have fun. And here is what my picture looked like when it was all done and pretty much dried at that point. You can, once again, write on it. You can leave it as is. Don't forget to write your name in the corner. I went ahead and added Happy Mother's Day to this one, which is something fun that you can do if you want to. So don't forget to post some pictures, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!